For this lesson, we're going to be learning how to do some lip syncing. And before we do the lip syncing, we actually have to create what we're calling a sort of catalog of phonemes, which are the mouth shapes that people make when speaking. So if you go to Google Classroom and you look into the classroom space on the assignment that is called a dialogue symbol with phonemes, okay, and you can click on that and go and see there is going to be a phoneme chart that we're going to use. There's also a sound file that we're going to need to use. So what you're going to do is you're going to go inside that and you're going to click on it. Open it up.
It's time to learn.
You don't have to listen to the whole thing, it's fine. You should definitely be having headphones while you're doing this. You're going to click over here on these three little dots where it says more actions. You're going to open this sound file in a new window because it will then allow you to download it, where you can see the little arrow with the download button right here. You click download. When the window comes up, I suggest putting it into your downloads folder and then click save. Okay, so now it just downloaded into the downloads folder. Okay, so now I'm going to close that. And then I'm also just going to keep this phoneme chart open because I want to see a phoneme is the shape that your mouth makes when you are speaking. So if I'm saying ah or o or e or w or t or s, the mouth kind of makes that shape, or n. So don't be mistaken that it says a here, because that's not what it's saying. It's really saying ah or o. And you can see in Google Classroom there, if I go to the reference section, there's a thing called phoneme charts, and there's lots of different drawings of these different phonemes for different characters from different positions. There's actually also a photograph of mouth shapes from three-quarter view and straight on of the different sounds. Now, realistically, you really only need about 9 different phoneme to kind of get most of the language. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so you're going to go to animate, you're going to create a new file, file new, and you're going to keep it at the standard 640 by 80, 24 frames per second, and hit create. Okay, since we had already just downloaded that sound file into our downloads folder, we're going to go to file, import to library, and we're going to look into our downloads folder. We're going to find that phonemes work file that we're looking for, and we're going to open it. Okay, so if I look in my library now, I can see that audio file. Okay, so now for layer 1, I can double click where it says layer 1 here, and I'm just going to name this circle, because whatever. Okay, and then I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this a new layer, and I'm going to call it audio. Okay, so I have 2 different layers. Okay, in the circle layer, I'm literally just going to, I can click on the shape, I'll go to my oval tool and create a circle, fine. Okay, oh, happen to be a nice color, whatever. Okay, in my audio layer, I'm going to now put that sound file. Okay, so I'll lock the circle layer just so I know that I'm actually putting in there. I'm going to click on my library tab, and I'm going to drag the phoneme sound file to the stage. I should see a plus sign, and I'm going to let go. Now you'll see in frame 1 on the audio layer here that there's this little teeny yellow line. Okay, now this means that there's more sound file to go here. So in order to play the entire dialogue, I have to actually insert frames. So I can click on the insert frame button, and I can just keep clicking until I get the entire sound file. I happen to know, if I click out further, I can click insert, and it'll insert up to that point. I happen to know that this dialogue is about 180 frames long. Okay, so I went all the way out to 180 and I inserted a frame, so it extended all the way out. But you can see if I click on that last frame and I add some more frames, at some point, right, it's going to stop having the sound file. Okay, Now the next thing I want to do is actually do the same thing on the circle layer. I'm going to unlock it, and right at the very end I'm just going to insert frame, so that circle is kind of going for the entire time the dialogue is playing. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click and create a new layer. And it should be between the circle layer and the audio layer, and I'm going to double click and I'm going to name this one mouth. Oops, mouth. Okay. Here, I'm going to use my drawing tablet. I'm going to pick a color, just for the sake of doing this. I'm going to do a black, use my paintbrush, and I'm just going to do a mouth in the closed position. Maybe I'm going to make my line a little bit thinner, so I just hit undo. I'm going to say a little bit thicker. I'm going to do like 3 pixels. I think that's just a little wider to make it a little bit more. I'm going to put a little bit more smoothing. Okay, whatever. Boom. Simple. Mouth. Okay, mouth closed. Boom. Okay. Now, in order to create a catalog for easy efficiency to lip sync to this, I'm going to click on this keyframe now, and now you see the mouth is selected. Actually, before I do that, let me lock the other layer so I don't accidentally do anything. So lock those other two, click on the mouth layer, it's selected. I'm going to go to Modify, Convert to Symbol, or the hotkey is F8. And I'm going to name this mouth. Okay, I'm going to leave the type as a graphic and the registration, let's make it right in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to click OK. Okay. So now you see the registration is center. You'll see this blue binding box around the outside edge of this mouth. This is called a symbol. So now I'm going to click on my selection tool up here. All right, and I'm going to double click on that registration mark. Just double click. Dunk, dunk. Okay, and you'll see down here, instead of scene next to scene 1, you'll see this thing mouth. And you'll see that the timeline changed. Because what happened is we drilled down inside of the mouth symbol, and now we have an independent timeline. Okay? I'm going to click again on that keyframe. That's the first frame of this mouth symbol. And I'm going to click over my Properties tab and see where it says Label. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to name that Neutral. Okay? Then I'm going to click in the next keyframe over. You'll notice a little red arrow kind of came, or sorry, flag came up there. It suggests that there's a label there, and this will become apparent why we're doing this later. Okay, so now I'm going to insert a blank keyframe, and I can come back to Google and I can look at my mouth, and so now I'm going to do the I can probably shrink this down a little bit so we can see this a little bit better. Shrink this in a little bit better this way. Okay, I'm going to do the shape. So I'm going to turn on my onion skin so I can see the frame before, and I'm going to use my drawing tool, and I'm going to, when I go my mouth is opening up, so I can use that same drawing of the bout, but your lip doesn't really drop so much. Okay, your mouth is just sort of, your jaw is dropping down, so you're getting the Okay, now notice you can see the top of the teeth. Okay, and you can also see the tongue that's kind of in the bottom there. Okay, so I'm not going to color these in yet. I'm just going to quickly go through. So now I've got the shape drawn, and now I'm going to click on that keyframe, and in the label I'm going to name it AH. Okay, now it does say A there, but you'll just get used to, and put your own label however you want. Okay, now I'm going to click in the next keyframe over. I'm going to insert a blank keyframe, and I'm going to draw the next mouth shape. Again, trying to kind of hit in the same area that the mouth is. I'm drawing the O sound, or the oo, the oo sound. Actually, it's more the O sound because it's a wider mouth. Okay, and then boom, click on that keyframe, label it O. Okay, or OH. Okay, O, and then I'm going to insert another keyframe. I'm going to do the E sound. Okay. So the E is a little, actually, I'll do that again. It's a little bit wider than the sound, so I'm going to spread the mouth out a little bit more. Okay, and it's actually it's a little more stretched, so it's not going down as far. But you also see that there's teeth at the top and teeth at the bottom. Okay, and a little bit of the tongue showing there. So I'm gonna just do like this, a little bit of the tongue showing. Okay, and you can clean it up. I'm doing this fast just so you can see how this works, okay? Again, I've selected it, now I'm typing E. Or It's actually really so the sound, EH, okay? Next one over, boom, insert a blank keyframe. Now I'm doing the W sound, okay? The W and the sound. So it's kind of similar shape to the O, but it kind of, the mouth is kind of squishing in a little bit. And I see a little bit of the tongue, and I have a little bit of the lines on either side. Okay, I'll label that W, comma, or W, comma, R. And then next one over, I'm going to do the T, S. So this is, again, I try to match the lip, the top lip to be the same size. It's a little thinner than the E sound. And I like to draw actually teeth right in the middle of this one, but either way, you can leave it empty. Just copy what you see, okay? And then, so this is going to be the T, S. And then I'm going to go the O-N. Now this one I like because it's got the tongue sticking in a funny way, but the mouth comes in a little bit, so we don't see as much. It's not as wide, I should say. Okay, and then it kind of is coming down. We see the jaw is dropping. We see the top of the teeth. And we see a little tongue kind of curling up and around. Okay, and we're going to call this one O-N. O-N. Okay, and then the last three you got going on here. We've got the U and the K sound, which is just a little smaller U. So blank keyframe, brush, O, U, okay. And then label, U, K. And then we have the B, P, where your lips kind of come together. Okay, and so I'll just make it a little wider than the and you can see it's helpful to have that onion skin so you can kind of match everything up and just kind of put a little, bit where the mouth is coming together. And the last one, okay, wait, label it. So the B, and the P, our mouth comes together, okay? And so last phoneme, insert a blank keyframe. I'm going to draw out the shape. Oh, let me do that again, a little sloppy, whatever, I'm rushing. Okay, and then now when we're doing the F and the V, we actually, our teeth bite the top of our lip. Okay, and if you look at the photographs, you can get a better look at really what's happening, but that's kind of a quick drawing. You can copy that, boom, label it, F, V, boom, done. So we have all the different mouth shapes. Now we can go back and color them in. So I'm going to click on my paintbrush tool. I'm going to start with the teeth, so white, okay, and color. I can use my hotkeys down at the bottom to skip to the next frame. There's no teeth on that one, no teeth on this one, teeth on this one, teeth on this one, both. I'm going to turn the onion skin off so it's easier to see. Teeth just on the bottom. No, that's actually the tongue, right? And then here we've got teeth, no teeth, and teeth. Okay, now we change color. Let me go red. Boom. So red for the tongue, 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 and that's it for red. And last color, black. So click on the black, and let me fill that in, fill in, fill in, fill in, fill in. And there we go. Okay, so we got all the different mouth shapes. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to come back outside of the symbol. So right here, again, we see on this, right here it says scene 1 and mouth. I'm going to click where it says scene 1, and that brings us back out to the main timeline, okay? And you can see that blue binding box around again. I'm going to click on my selection tool just so I know where I'm working. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a window called the frame picker. So I'm going to click where it says frame picker right here, okay? And drag it over so you can kind of get a sense. So when I select the symbol, so if I click on that registration to mark, or if I click on any line and I see that blue binding box, you'll see that you can see this frame picker. Okay, now the default is loop, but what we're going to click on and change it to single frame, okay? And so now as I'm talking, this is how we do the lip syncing, okay? If I am coming in, I'm going to click over so the mouth is closed, but as soon as I start talking right here, I have to think about what is the actual shape, that the sound that's coming out, and I'm going to match the shape. So if I play this by hitting return, it's time. The I sound, right, is going to be probably more like the I, this kind of shape. So I'm going to click right there on that picture of it, the I or the eh, right? And it's going to automatically insert a keyframe, right? So and the t sound, so is a little bit further over. So if I'm clicking there, I might do the t sound. It's time. And then sometimes when there's a little bit of a pause, I might insert just the close sound, especially if it's going to go to the same shape again. So it's time. So ta, so you see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of clicking, finding the phoneme sounds. It's time to. Okay, and if it doesn't line up right as you're doing this, you can always click on a keyframe, and if the M sounds a little farther off, I can click, hold, and drag that keyframe over, right? And I can shift some of these around, right? The other thing I can do is I can get rid of one of them by holding the control button down, clicking on it, and clicking clear keyframe, okay? And it goes, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to try to just finish this off doing the entire dialogue. It's time to, right? Does it make sense? It's time to. It's time. So let's see. To. Ooh. Time to learn. So that was a little off. So let me drag some of those over. Time to learn. I dragged it the wrong way. Time to learn. And then to learn. Okay. Time to learn how. H is kind of, you know, the how. It's time to learn how. To learn how. So how, and then maybe close, and then phonemes is going to be the actually, no, O, bigger one, phony, a phony, name, Okay, so I'm kind of moving fast, but I think you're going to get the hang of this.
Phoneme.
Knee. So the E sound. Phoneme. Mouth comes together. Phonemes.
Learn how phonemes work.
Okay, a little rushed there, so I might pull that.
Phonemes work.
Okay, so so I'm not gonna. You're just gonna continue doing this. When you're done finishing off on this, you can save the whole document, and then you can export it as an MP4 like we've been doing, and submit it in that file. The other thing I want to mention, though, just to be sure that you have this done, is on your audio layer. If you click on the first frame in that blank keyframe and come to the properties window where it says frame, and look down where it says sync, you want to make sure that it says stream and not event. Sometimes it's set up to event by default, and you want to make sure that it is set to stream. Without getting too much into it, just make sure that you have that work so it can play continuously as you're editing, okay? So
it's time to learn how phonemes.
Okay, so you get a sense of how this is working, all right? Have fun and good luck.